Hello and welcome to the MAC weather page for this Thursday, December 22nd. We got a pretty active period coming up. We got some mild air and some rain showers. Before that, we may even see a little bit of snow to add to our snowpack before we begin to melt it as a big strong storm that'll move into the upper Midwest towards Minnesota. We're bringing a lot of heavy snow out from Wyoming into the Dakotas. In fact, blizzard watches, as we talked about yesterday, this is going to be an all-out blizzard for parts of the Dakotas, northwest Minnesota, again back into Wyoming, where they can see over a foot of snow with winds up around 50 miles per hour. But for us, looks like a little bit of light rain with that storm and temperatures in the upper 30s to low 40s. I think Monday will be the warmest day, but then by Monday afternoon our temperatures will fall. So if we look at the headlines again, looks like we'll have some clouds and maybe some breaks today, highs in the 30s, and then later on tomorrow night looks like about 1 to maybe 2 inches of snow in some areas, other areas maybe just a trace. And then I think we may start out that Christmas storm with a little bit of mix of light rain and snow, but I think it'll quickly change over to any rain and temperatures warm into the 30s and 40s. And we may be in the mid to upper 40s on Monday, but then I think our temperatures fall late in the day, and by Tuesday we'll have highs only in the 20s. So certainly a big change coming up after this warm storm. You can see this morning in Lansing, plenty of snow on the ground, and if we take a next slide here, you can see our normal high is 32, the normal low is 19. And if we look at conditions around the area yesterday, you can see temperatures mainly in the low to mid 30s. You can see we're about 2 degrees below normal for the month so far. The warmest temperature 35 degrees in Owego, and the coldest temperature was down to 19 degrees at Clarksville. If we look at the highs and lows across the nation yesterday, the warmest temperature 80 degrees at Miami and Marathon, Florida, and the coldest temperature was minus 15 degrees at Stanley, Idaho. And you can look at some of the snowfall across the different portions of the state. You can see Detroit 16, Breckenridge here 16.4, 16 in Lansing, 15 in Saginaw. Again, the snowy spots, Grand Rapids, well on their way to the forecasted totals that I put out. They're at 35 inches, 34 at Houghton Lake. So again, plenty of snow in especially the snow belt areas. And you can see the current snow depths on the ground right now, anywhere from about 5 to 10 inches across most of the inland areas away from Lake Michigan. And as far as how we break down so far from month to month, you can see we picked up only a 0.2 of an inch of snow in November, but we only averaged 3 inches for the month, so not that big of a departure. And then you can see currently in December, we're at 164% of the normal with 14.8 inches of snow on the ground, and I think we'll add to that total before the end of the month. And if we look at the next slide, you can see some of the snow depths so far that we're accumulating here over the last 10 days. And again, we're averaging about 6 or 7 inches of snow on the ground right now. We'll see that cut way back here over the next couple of days, but I think we'll see a chance for more snow before the New Year's. If we look at the next map, you can see current temperatures around the area this morning, very warm, very consistent with the cloud cover in the low to mid 30s. And if we look at the national radar, you can see the big system that's going to start pooling a lot of that moisture, and eventually it's going to develop with the system coming off the west coast into a pretty good low over Colorado, and that'll move towards Minnesota, so we'll be on the warm sector. And again, if we look at the morning's weather map, you can see the little low pressure system and the cold front that moved through the area, but you can see behind it winds mainly out of the west as a zone of flow develops, and that will prevent any real cold air coming in here anytime soon, at least until early next week. If we look at the weather map this morning, you can see our next weather maker across North Dakota. This is a weak system yet. This isn't the big storm. It'll be traversing across the UP, and again with a warm front lifting up over top of some of the cold air, we could have a little bit of snow as we get into Friday. And you can see on tomorrow's weather map some of that areas of snow across the Great Lakes. It'll push off to the east, and then all eyes will begin to focus on that storm that'll be developing out west. And again, it'll move to the northeast into Minnesota. And that's going to bring an all-out blizzard, and you can see by Christmas Eve it's still getting its act together. If we look at the forecast for Christmas Day, you can see the very strong storm now in Colorado, and it's going to be pushing snow all across the Dakotas into Minnesota on Christmas Day, Christmas afternoon, and that heavy snow will continue into early Monday. And you can see by Monday that storm is really getting wrapped up over north central Minnesota. And right now it looks like central and eastern, south, and North Dakotas could really be under the gun. I think many areas out there could see around or over a foot of snow with 50-mile-an-hour plus winds. So again, you can see the blizzard watches that are in effect for out in that area. As far as precipitation over the next 7 days, you can see looks like about up to an inch of rain across northwest lower Michigan. That would be rain equivalent. Again, much of this will be in the form of rain. There will be some snow. And if you look across this blue line here to the north of that, that's where the blizzard's going to hit, and that's where the worst of the conditions will be for Christmas Day and the day after. As far as snowfall amounts out there, you can see quite a bit of snow all the way from Wyoming up into the Dakotas, northwest Minnesota, where you can see some of this depicts about 6 to as much as 15 inches of snow. So we'll certainly keep an eye on that. That's going to be the big news story here over the next week or so, will be that blizzard out into the upper plains. And you can see as we look at the Canadians' depiction of that storm, you can see again a lot of snowfall up into the Dakotas to Minnesota. For us, you can see even 1 to 2 inches, maybe even 3 inches on the Canadian model. But again, I think the best bet would be about a trace to 2 inches of snow across much of the MAC area. And again, that'll be for Friday night. And then the system coming over the weekend will bring us mainly rain. If we look at the Southern Oscillation Index, and some of the forecasts of some extremely warm weather over the next couple of weeks, well, it's kind of looks like it's calming down a little bit. We may be a little above normal, but again, I think that's going to be a very active pattern coming up over the next 2 weeks. And Weather Bell pointed out this big spike in the SOI, which normally would mean a ridge over our part of the country in the eastern sections of the U.S. and warmer temperatures. But look, already we see it drop right back down to neutral. And to me, what this is telling us is we're in a transient pattern. So I don't think we're going to see any really cold or really warm air stick around. But certainly could be a very active stormy period here coming up as long as we keep fluctuating in that SOI. And if we look at the new 6 to 10 day outlook issued yesterday, you can see they've cut back on some of the warmest temperatures, keeping them across the far southeast U.S. and for us near normal. And as far as precipitation, above normal from many areas of the central U.S. into the Great Lakes in the northeast. And that could be a pretty active pattern as far as snow. It could be snow or rain, but certainly it looks like we're going to be stormy here over the next couple of weeks. And if we look at Weather Watch this morning, you can see the area where that's under the blizzard watch out here in Wyoming into the Dakotas. And again, we'll see winter storm watches likely extended into eastern North Dakota and in northwest Minnesota here over the upcoming day or two. I think we'll see those expand to the northeast, and you can see the areas where there's winter storm watches. And again, many areas will pick up a half a foot to a foot of snow from this storm out there. Thanks for stopping by and have yourself a great day, and 73s to all.